Hi everyone, welcome to Tammy's Creative Cards and Crafts. I'm Tammy, and I thought I would do a video for you this evening. I've had a couple requests from people who are interested in knowing a little bit more about different kinds of markers and blends and coloring and stuff like that. And so I just wanted to touch base a little bit on what I know and do a little video for that. And yeah, so I'm just going to color a few things and show you a little bit, like I said, what I know about it. So what I have done is I'm using this Stampin' Up stamp set. It is Birthday Blooms, and I'm using this stamp here, the nice big flower, and I have stamped the image on some regular Whisper White cardstock and also on some really nice, I think it's 140-pound watercolor paper. Okay, because we're going to be using some Staz ink, and we're also be using the Memento ink. So I will tell you as we're going along which inks to be using with whatever we're going to be coloring with. So just get going here and show you which one. So the first thing I'm going to show you is to color with a neat little tool called an Aqua painter. And this is an Aqua painter here. And I got mine from Stampin' Up. It has a little tip on it. It's like a brush. And it's filled with water. And actually comes in a 2-pack. I have another one here, and it has, I think, a little bit bigger tip than the first one. Yeah, you can see the difference in the tips. But they pretty much paint the same. But I don't have any water in this one right now, so I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to show you how to use this little tool and to paint with some ink pads. So I have stamped this image here with some Staz ink. Now this is an ink pad that when you open it, it has a distinctive smell. It actually smells like almonds. And you use this with any kind of water-based markers and any kind of, like, your Aqua painter. I'm going to be using blender pens, anything that's water-based. You want to use Staz ink pad because it will prevent from your ink running. So take your Aqua painter, and I'll just grab a hold of ink pad here. I'm using Perfect Plum, and you can press the ink pad together just to get a little bit of ink on there like that, and then open it up and you can see that there's some ink on that side. Now another thing you can do is you can take your little block and you can press it on your ink pad. Actually, I'm just going to adjust this up here a little bit so you can see a little bit better. Try not to make anybody dizzy, but I find that that is just not. That might give everybody a better view. So you can actually take a better block, or sorry, acrylic block, and actually dip that in there like that, and that will give a little, you can use to dip your paintbrush into that. But for right now, I'm just going to use my little well there of ink. So what you do is you, because you have water in your Aqua painter, you can just dip that right in your ink there like that. And I usually just give it a little dip on your paper and just start anywhere on your whatever you're painting, and I just go over and just lightly go over the you can see there's quite a bit of water there, so I'm just going to try to dry that off a little bit. And you can go over your petals. And for the first coat, when you're using your Aqua painter, just go over it lightly and then let it dry, because you can always come back. And just like I said, just go over lightly, and you're going to come back after that dries a little bit, and you can darken it. And some may be dark in areas than others, but that's how light is different on a flower. No petal is all one color. Light hits it differently, and you can fix it later. So right now you're just putting on a light coat. Just go over it like that. And as I'm doing the rest here, that first petal is actually drying. And so there. And you can go to these lighter roses here. It's a neat little tool to paint with, and you can have a lot of fun with this. You can really create some beautiful projects with this. So as now that first part has dried, and I can feel that it's dried, now what I'll do is I'll just dry my brush off a little bit, and I'll go in and take a little bit more of the darker, and because it's already had the coat now, I'm just going to go out around the outer part, and you'll see that now it's kind of taking the shape of how maybe, and just kind of go around away real. And you know what, if you don't like the look of it, you can just play around with it and create it however you like. Everybody's has their own eye of what beauty is. So I'm just gonna go around here, and this is very relaxing, I find. So again, highlight in here and go in with the dark coat, And when you put another layer in like that, you can go in and blend that together. You can see how you can make that very beautiful by blending the color of that together, of the dark and with the light. Of pulling the color from the bottom up like that, and going maybe a little darker in where the lines are. I think it looks very beautiful. So this is just a little way of showing you how exactly the Aqua painter works, and how easy. And then when you want to get rid of that color, you just give the little Aqua painter a little squeeze, and it just drips out a little bit of the water. And then, as you can see, when you paint, there's nothing coming out there. So just to show you quickly, I mean, I'm not entirely done, but you can see that, you know, I could continue on there, and in only a short time, in a couple of minutes, that is a very beautiful flower, and I could continue to play around with that and definitely paint that some more. So that is the Aqua painter and the ink. So the next thing I would like to show you is with the color pencils. Now the color pencils are very economical. You can get them in sets, and they come in a lot of colors. I have Stampin' Up ones. I have an older set that come like this. I think this set's, well, it's very old. I have this set here, and then I also have a newer set, a couple of packages like this. But I mean, this set here, it wasn't very much money. I think maybe under $20. I'm not sure. I actually forget the price, but they're not very much. And if you don't have anything right now to color with, you can start by just starting out with the color pencils. So I can show you how to color with those. So what you're going to do is you go in with the color pencils, and you just have your image again. You don't necessarily have to use Memento or Stays On for this, because you're not using any water. You can use Memento ink. If you're going to later on use a blender pen or an aqua painter to blend your color pencil, excuse me, because these are water pencils. These are watercolor pencils. So these you can blend with your blender pen or an aqua to blend some of the color. And so if you want to do that, then I would recommend that you stamp your image with the Stays On. But if you're not interested in doing that, and you just want to color straight with them, then you can use the Memento ink. In my opinion, just go ahead and use the Stays On in case you decide that you wanted to later on use a blender pen or whatever to fix something up, or you know, enhance it, and then you already have the ink done. So when you look at it, you can't tell the difference. So this is stamped again on watercolor paper. And I'm just going to go in, and when you go in with the pencils, you just want to go over and just lightly go in and start coloring the petals just very lightly like that, and just give it a very light shading. And you don't need a fancy sharpener or anything with these pencils. I just have a basic, actually I'll show you. I have a basic sharpener. It's just a little steel sharpener like that, and this one has worked perfect for me. Fantastic. I know a lot of people that they say that they don't like using electric pencil sharpeners, that they're kind of hard on them, but I have never used an electric pencil sharpener, so I can't speak for that. So again, just go in and start lightly. Don't press too hard. Just lightly shade with your color pencil in the petals. And try not to put too much pressure. And I'm just leaving kind of a little bit of white down there in the center, because I'm going to put the yellow in there for the middle. Which that can be blended in later. And it doesn't take long to color these when you're doing them. Like I said, I find it kind of therapeutic. So we're just going to finish this one up here. And so now what you're going to do is go in, and you're going to go in a little bit darker around the edges. And then go around again. Bringing some of the color down, but you can see how you can shade very nicely with them. And so you're going to do that all the way around. So your second layer is a little bit darker. And then your then you're going to go in and do a third layer. And your third layer, you're mostly going to go around the edges and do mostly around the edge, outlining the lines, just to highlight the lines there, to really bring in show out the I even actually had a different color purple I could have went in with just to highlight some areas. Whoops. That pencil was really sharp, so I expected that little tip to break off. Now I would go in and just kind of blend these in here like that. And just kind of go in really dark now, blending those in, pressing a little bit harder. And you can really start to see the flower to take shape. I hope that the camera is really showing up the petals, and it's really taking shape there. I hope that it's, showing up there. Especially down here, do you see how that's starting to take shape? I have some more work to do, up here in shading. But I mean, you just have to work at it and go in and, figure out where your light is, where you want your light to be at in the picture. And yeah, so I hope that looks nice there on the camera. I hope I'm doing justice. Of course, if I spent a lot more time doing this, you would. Okay, so that is the color pencils. And one thing I want to show you about the color pencils is this blender pen. I'm going to show you a little bit on the blender pen more, but this is what a blender pen is, and it actually has a little tip. There's like a glycerin or whatever in here, and as you can see, when you write on it, there's actually nothing. It's like just a clear liquid that comes out. But whatever it is that you want to blend, like if I use these color pencils, you see how that softens that right up? So I can go on there and just soften that ink right up with this blender pen, and it just gives that pencil such a soft look. And it's actually very beautiful how that works, and it actually changes the color a little bit with this color ink that I'm using, but I actually like it because, like I said, it softens it right up, and you can actually see how it's transferring the ink over here. So I could actually take the ink from these color pencils and actually color something else. That's so I could just go in and blend this around. And now my flower almost has shades of pink in it. So there's all kinds of little tricks that you can do with these little tools. It's really awesome. So if you are not wanting to buy a whole set of markers or whatever, you can just pick up a blender pen and some color pencils. And you can pick up a blender pen and some ink pads. So that turned out pretty cool. You can see the dimensions in that. So the other thing I was going to show you with the blender pen, and so what you do is you just do it on a piece of paper, and as you can see, it just wipes away. So the with the blender pen now, the other way you can use this is you take, actually I'm not going to use a whole other picture to show you this. What I'm going to do is I'll just do the leaves with this, with the blender pen. So I have some ink here, and you take the blender pen and you just dip it in some ink, and you can color in with using the blender pen. And what's nice about it, it's nice and smooth, and you can do dark in some areas. So if you have a lot of color on there, you can go in dark and use it in darken areas, and then it'll start getting lighter in some areas once the ink starts running out. I absolutely love using the blender pen. I actually like it more than the Aqua painter. I just find that you don't have a lot of water, it's more contained, and I have more control with it. But everybody's different, and everybody has their own favorites of what they like. So as you can see, that does the job very nice of doing the leaves, and you can do whole projects with the blender pen. Like I said, if you don't have markers or color pencils or anything like that, if you just had a blender pen and some ink pads, then you can get away with coloring with just that. So it's pretty great. and they're not expensive at all. You get a 2-pack. I think they're under $20. So that's pretty great. So that is the blender pen, and I can go back and finish that up, but just to show you, you can see the difference of how it's dark in some areas and light in others. And just to show you, there's this other marker. Now these are blends, and these are alcohol-based markers, the same as Copic and other alcohol markers. These ones, you use Memento ink, and what I want to show you, this specific one here is actually called a color lifter. So where there's color here, if I wanted to, say for example, just lift a little bit of color out of one area to highlight it a little bit more, I can take this little color lifter here and go in and just take some of that color out of there and lift it out and bring it more white in that area, just to take some of the pigment out. So that's a great little blend as well. So as you can see, that is another way of doing coloring. So the other way I wanted to show you is with the Stampin' Up blends, and I have a piece of watercolor paper, but again you can use this on regular cardstock. So I have some blends here, and the great thing about the blends is they come with a double end. There's a thick brush on one end and a thinner end on the other. And they're sold as usually in pairs. There are some that are single, but most of them are sold in pairs. And there's usually a light and a dark. So this one here is called Highland Heather. So it's a light Highland Heather, and then this one is the dark Highland Heather. And so if you wanted to go around in the light areas, and then you have a dark one of the same color to highlight as well. And then the great thing about these are you can, oh, I'm going to show you. You can go in with when you're doing the petals. Actually, I'm going to go in with the dark there. And these ones, you can actually pull the color from each other, so they will actually blend together. That's the great thing from these. That's why they're called blends. So they're very nice to use. And again, they're alcohol-based markers. So you have a variety of choices that you can use. You can see here how I'm going in with the light and I'm pulling some of the dark. And it gives it a nice effect, especially on flowers, when you're trying to give it a pretty look. So that is just a, you know, a way that you can see the effect there on that petal there. So there are some great ways to do some different ways of coloring. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even show you the Stampin' markers. I'll show you these ones really quickly. These ones, the Stampin' markers, these are a water-based marker, and when you're using these, you would just go over. So you just go over, that's the wrong end. So you just kind of go over lightly. I maybe should have used a lighter color. Let me try the lighter color here. So let's do a lighter color. So a lighter color, and these ones are a little bit more economical. You can buy them in a package. They don't, they're not sold separately like the blends. So you go over this lightly, just like one coat like that. And then what you would do is you can still get the effect of the blends, but you just come back and just do a second layer. And you just go over like that. And you can go around the edges and highlight there. And the same as on the petals, just give it a one coat. But then come back and do a second layer and even a third, just to highlight those areas that you really want to enhance. You know, moving the color up and around the edges. And there you go. You can see that the Stampin' Right markers, I mean, you can use them too. The exact same as the blends. You can if you play with them and work, you know, just sit and play with them. You'll see that you can get, if you just practice with them, you can get the same type of effect with them. It's just practice. Do you see that effect? And like I said, I could sit here and play with this and shade this for probably a little bit longer, but I'm just trying to give you an overall idea of it. So that's about it. So we have the Stamp Right markers, they're water based. The color pencils will give you a nice effect. Your blender pens, your Aqua pen, and your blender marker, your blending markers, and then you have your color lifter, and then of course you want to use your Staz inks, your Memento inks, your ink pads. These are all things that you would use to color with, to create beautiful images when you're coloring your stamps. I hope this has helped somehow. I hope you liked some part of the video. I hope you've learned something. I am not a professional by any means. I just, like I said, I just try to show people a little bit about something that maybe I've learned. And if you have any questions or comments or anything that you want me to show you or maybe explain, let me know. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel. Hit the like button if you did like this video, or leave me a comment. I would definitely love to hear all your comments. And if you're not a subscriber, please feel free to subscribe or share the video with somebody that isn't a subscriber yet. I'm almost to 300, and I'm looking forward to hitting that 300 mark and beyond, so I can do these videos and share all these little tips and everything with all of you. So I look forward to doing the next video with all of you, and thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you so much for being so supportive, and I really enjoy your friendship. Have a great night. Bye-bye.